right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're taking a trip back in time.
Back in time.
Yeah, to the early years of Bitcoin, like way back, 2010 to 2014.
Ah, the Wild West days.
Exactly. We're talking lost fortunes, stolen coins, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
We'll be diving deep into those pivotal moments when Bitcoin was, let's just say, a bit more vulnerable.
I'm talking about huge losses. Losses that, in today's value, would make your jaw drop.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to see how technical hiccups, scams, and even just plain old human error led to Bitcoin fortunes vanishing. Fortunes that would be worth billions today.
So ready to fire up the time machine?
Let's do it. First stop, August 2010. Bitcoin's barely a blip on the radar, worth just a fraction of a penny.
And this is where we encounter the Stoneman loss. A user on the Bitcoin Talk forum, Stoneman, lost almost 9,000 Bitcoins.
9,000. Wow.
Lost private key. You know, like losing the password to your Bitcoin wallet. Back then, losing a few thousand Bitcoins probably didn't seem like the end of the world, but man.
If he held on to those today.
We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Poof.
Yeah.
Gone.
A harsh lesson in backups. Even when a currency seems, well, insignificant.
Big time.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit. 2011, things are heating up. Bitcoin's price is climbing, new platforms popping up everywhere. Excitement, but also a lot of vulnerability.
A lot. And that's when we hit the Ubitek scam. Get this. A miner sets up a Bitcoin stock exchange.
A teenager? Seriously?
No kidding. He ends up taking off with almost 1,200 Bitcoins from investors.
Wild. It was a different time for sure. Lack of regulation, that gold rush mentality, ripe for the picking.
A lot of those early Bitcoin ventures were scams, taking advantage of all the hype and people just not knowing enough.
June 2011. This one's a bit of a heartbreaker. Stefan Thomas, a Bitcoin developer, big name in the community.
Yeah, Stefan loses access to a hard drive with 7,000 Bitcoins on it. He had backups, but none of them worked.
Ouch. Even the tech-savvy can slip up.
Big time. Then, same month, we have the Allen Bain theft. Someone claims to have had 25,000 Bitcoins stolen from their computer.
25,000.
That's a lot. It sparked a lot of debate. Was it real? Fabricated? Either way, it underscored how vulnerable those early computers were.
Security practices weren't exactly top-notch back then.
Nope.
All right, get ready for this one. This is where we meet a name that will become infamous. Mt. Gox. June 2011, hackers mess with Bitcoin balances on Mt. Gox, causing a price crash, and they make off with over 2,600 Bitcoins.
First major security breach for Mt. Gox, foreshadowing much. But it also highlights a problem that was rampant, reusing passwords.
Oh, yeah. That Mt. Gox incident led to a password leak. Hackers got their hands on that info, and guess what? People were using those same passwords on MyBitcoin.
Damn, mass MyBitcoin thefts, about 4,000 Bitcoins gone.
Password security, people. It matters.
Lesson learned. Or was it? Because next month, MyBitcoin gets hit again. This time it's a whopping 78,739 Bitcoins.
What? How is that even possible?
The founder claimed a hack. Many thought it was an exit scam. Either way, the damage was done. Online wallets suddenly seemed a lot less safe.
You got to remember, those early platforms were still figuring things out. Security, not always a top priority.
Right. Another example. Late July 2011, Bitomat.pl loss. Polish exchange had their wallet on Amazon servers. Amazon does a routine restart. Bitomat.pl loses all their wallet data.
And poof, 17,000 Bitcoins are gone.
No proper backup, one oversight, huge consequences.
Okay, let's jump into the world of altcoins. September 2011, Mooncoin theft. Mooncoin was an exchange for altcoins. 4,000 Bitcoins vanish.
And the details. Super murky. Rumors of authorities getting involved. Maybe the operator just ran off.
Sounds like the Wild West was even wilder in the altcoin market.
Oh, for sure. October 2011, we have Bitcoin 7 incident. Bitcoin 7, a fast-growing exchange, gets hit. Over 5,000 Bitcoins stolen.
Any idea who's behind it?
That's the thing. The story kept changing. External hack, inside job, nobody knew for sure. Trust in the exchange just evaporated.
Lack of transparency strikes again.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of recurring themes, Mt. Gox pops up again. October 2011, this time they lose over 2,600 Bitcoins.
Another hack.
Nope. This one was internal mismanagement. A bug in their system, they said. But it just made people more worried about their whole operation.
2011, man. Scams, hacks, and a whole lot of shaking heads. But we're not done yet.
And as we roll into 2012, things don't exactly calm down.
Oh, no. What kind of shenanigans are we talking about now?
Well, we start seeing even more, shall we say, creative scams, bigger hacks. And the first hints that maybe, just maybe, some regulations might be a good idea.
So the Wild West is starting to get a sheriff.
Maybe a deputy, at least. First up, the BitScalper scam. Classic Ponzi scheme.
Ah, yes. The promise of easy money never gets old.
Nope. Unbelievably high returns, minimal risk, you know the drill.
Hook, line, and sinker.
People were blinded by those dollar signs, but of course the whole thing imploded. Investors lost about 30,350 bitcoins.
A costly reminder that if it sounds too good to be true.
It probably is. Then, February 2012, Andrew Nolan, or as he was known online, Shikaru.
This guy's got a story.
Oh, yeah. He was a busy bee, started a bunch of ventures, mining, trading, even launched a Bitcoin exchange.
Sounds legit.
It was all a big act. He pocketed something like 2,200 Bitcoins from investors and then vanished.
Wow, just like that.
Yep. Another case of someone exploiting the hype, the lack of regulation.
Okay, March 2012. I have a feeling this one's going to be big.
Big is an understatement. The Linode hacks.
Linode, they were a big hosting provider, right?
Huge. And they got hit with a massive security breach. The fallout was, well, it rippled through the whole Bitcoin world.
Like how many services were we talking about?
Bitcoinica, the trading platform,
Yep.
the Bitcoin.cz mining pool, even Gavin Andreessen's original Bitcoin faucet.
Wait, the Bitcoin faucet? The one where you could just get free Bitcoins?
That's the one. Set up to introduce people to Bitcoin.
So how much damage are we talking about?
Hold on to your hat. Around 46,653 Bitcoins stolen.
Oh my gosh. That must have been a huge wake-up call for everyone.
Absolutely. It showed how interconnected everything was, how vulnerable the whole system could be.
So it wasn't just exchanges getting targeted. April 2012, we've got the Bitcoin theft.
Bitcoin, the gambling website.
The one and only. Hackers swiped 3,171 Bitcoins. User deposits, the site's own funds, the whole 9 yards.
Even with some attempts to pay people back, most of it was gone.
I guess those early Bitcoin gambling sites were just as risky as everything else.
You got it. And then, same month, a story that shows how much trust and reputation mattered back then.
Huh.
The Tony Silk Road scam.
Ah, Silk Road, the dark underbelly of the Bitcoin world.
You said it. This guy, Tony76, he was a big-time vendor, known for delivering the goods.
So how'd he pull off a scam?
He offered huge discounts, like crazy good deals, got thousands of buyers to pay up front, and the goods never showed up. Poof. Tony vanished, along with an estimated 30,000 Bitcoins.
That's a whole lot of Bitcoin. How did he manage that?
Seems he figured out a way to exploit Silk Road's escrow system. Back then, it was centralized. One administrator had control.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. People think Tony colluded with that administrator to pull it off.
Talk about a betrayal of trust. Speaking of which, let's go back to Bitcoinica.
Yeah.
They had their first big hack in May 2012, right?
Right. 18,547 Bitcoins stolen. But wait, there's more. Another platform, bitmarket.eu, they were storing their client funds on Bitcoinica.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. They lost almost 20,000 Bitcoins. Double whammy.
Talk about adding insult to injury. What happened to Bitcoinica after that?
It was the beginning of the end. Legal battles, people accusing them of being careless. They ended up going bankrupt.
It's like a cautionary tale. Choose your platforms carefully.
No kidding.
All
All right, July 2012. We've got a couple interesting ones here. First, Bitcoin Syndicate. Group of folks got 1,852 Bitcoins stolen from their Mt. Gox account.
Mt. Gox again. Starting to see a pattern here.
Right. They traced the IP address to Germany, but nobody got caught. It really showed how hard it was to enforce the law across borders back then.
Especially with something as new as Bitcoin.
Exactly. Okay, the next Bitcoinica incident is a weird one.
Late on me.
So July 2012, they get hit again. 40,000 Bitcoins gone. But then, get this, the Bitcoins reappear.
They what?
They were returned. Out of the blue.
Who did it?
Nobody knows. People pointed fingers, but the truth is, it's a mystery. Maybe an inside job gone wrong. Maybe a hacker with a conscience.
Adds a whole new layer to the Bitcoinica saga.
Definitely. July 31st, 2012. BTCE, another big exchange, gets hacked. 4,500 Bitcoins gone. API key exploit.
API key, like some kind of secret code?
Basically. Hackers got hold of it and used it to drain funds from the exchange. More sophisticated stuff than we'd seen before.
It sounds like the hackers were stepping up their game.
They were. But here's the kicker. BTCE decided to cover the losses themselves.
Really? Didn't see that coming.
Right. They actually took responsibility, earned them a lot of respect from the community.
Okay, what's next on our Bitcoin adventure?
August 2012. A Bitcoin startup, Kronos.io, hacked. 4,000 Bitcoins gone.
Kronos.io.
What were they doing?
Bitcoin futures, exchange services. They wanted to be like the fancy trading platform.
Ambitious. So who was behind the hack? People thought it was this developer, Alberto Armandi, the same guy suspected of being involved in that BitScalper Ponzi scheme.
No way.
Yep. Same faces popping up again and again.
So it was like a whole network of scammers and hackers.
Kind of, yeah. All right, this next one's a big one. Not just because of the amount of Bitcoin lost, but because it was the first time the U.S. government really stepped in.
Okay, all ears.
The Bitcoin Savings and Trust saga, 2011 to 2012. Massive Ponzi scheme run by this guy, Trendon Shavers, a.k.a. Pirate at 40.
What was his pitch?
Same old song and dance. Invest with me, get crazy high returns.
And people fell for it.
Oh, yeah. He raked in somewhere between 150,000 and 700,000 Bitcoins.
Wow. That's a staggering amount. What happened to him?
Well, the house of cards came tumbling down. Investors wanted their money. He couldn't deliver. The SEC charged him with securities fraud.
So the Wild West was starting to get a taste of law and order.
Exactly. Things were changing. Okay, back to security breaches. September 2012, Bitfloor, Bitcoin exchange, lost 24,086 Bitcoins.
Hacked again.
Yep. But this wasn't some elaborate scheme. They just messed up. Big time. They had unencrypted backups of their wallet keys on their servers.
Encrypted? Seriously?
Seriously. Hackers got in, found the backups, boom, gone.
Another reminder to always encrypt your backups.
Always. Then, September 28th, 2012, a user, Decker, 9,222 Bitcoins stolen right out of his personal wallet.
So it wasn't just exchanges that were at risk.
Nope. Anyone with a significant amount of Bitcoin was a target. They traced the attack to an IP address in Russia, but that was it.
International cybercrime. Tough to crack.
Very tough. October 2012, 50 BTC, a mining pool. They lost 11,173 Bitcoins.
Mining pool. What's that?
It's like a team of Bitcoin miners who join forces to boost their chances of earning Bitcoin. They pool their computing power together.
Makes sense. So how'd they get hacked?
Hackers found a flaw in their payout script, the software that distributes the earnings. They diverted the funds to their own wallets.
A tiny little flaw can have massive consequences.
Yep. And then, from September to November 2012, a new threat emerged. Malware. Specifically, a Trojan that was designed to steal login info.
Like a virus.
Exactly. People get infected, hackers snag their usernames and passwords, and boom, they're into their Bitcoin wallets.
That's scary.
It was. 2012 was definitely a wild ride. Scams, hacks, the government starting to take notice.
Wild West was changing, but the journey wasn't over yet.
And as we move into 2013, the stakes get even higher. The Bitcoin world is booming, but the threats are evolving too.
Okay, so what's first on the agenda for 2013?
Yeah.
What kind of craziness are we diving into?
First up is a story that reminds us you always got to be careful who you trust. BitLC, a Bitcoin company. They lost about 2,000 Bitcoins from a cold wallet.
A cold wallet? That's like super secure offline storage, right?
Exactly. Not connected to the internet. Supposed to be the safest way to store your Bitcoin.
So how did they lose 2,000 Bitcoins from a cold wallet?
Well, the story goes, one of the partners, a guy named Eric, was supposedly controlling this wallet, and then he vanishes. Poof. Along with the funds.
Inside job? Or just a really bad coincidence?
Another Bitcoin mystery for the books. And then March 2013, we've got the BTC Guild incident. BTC Guild, big mining pool. They lose 12,254 Bitcoins.
Hackers.
Nope. Technical glitch during a software upgrade.
Oh no, so just a mistake.
A costly one. There was a bug in the software. Miners figured out how to exploit it, and they drained the pool's hot wallet.
Shows you, even the big players can be vulnerable.
Absolutely. Speaking of technical hiccups, let's talk about the 2013 fork. March 11th.
A fork. I've heard that term thrown around, but what does it actually mean?
It's basically a split in the Bitcoin network. Happens when there's a disagreement about how the software should be developed. You end up with two versions of the Bitcoin blockchain.
Like two different Bitcoins.
Kind of. This particular fork, it was temporary, got sorted out pretty quickly. But it did lead to some double spending.
Double spending? That doesn't sound good.
It's not. It means someone managed to spend the same Bitcoins twice. Something Bitcoin is designed to prevent, but the fork created a loophole.
Yikes. How much are we talking?
Around 960 Bitcoins. But the good news is, the attacker ended up returning the funds.
Well, that's a relief. Still, it shows how even disagreements about the software can have real-world consequences.
No doubt about it. Okay, next up, we've got another one of those too good to be true investment schemes biting the dust.
Those never end well. What was this one called?
Bitcoin Rain. Promised the moon and the stars, but it was all smoke and mirrors.
How much did people lose this time?
About 4,000 Bitcoins. Same old story. Greed, lack of due diligence, Recipe for disaster.
All right, this next story is a bit different. It's a reminder that there are real people behind all these Bitcoin transactions. Zigap, run by a guy known as Ethereum, they lost 7,708 Bitcoins.
Yeah, this one wasn't a hack or a scam. It was a personal breakdown. Aethro was struggling with some serious mental health issues, couldn't keep things going.
That's so sad.
It is. It just shows how much pressure there was, how intense things were back then.
And how important it is to, look out for each other, even in the digital world.
Agreed. All right, let's move on to a story with a bit more of a happy ending. April 19th, 2013. Ozcoin, a mining pool, gets hit. 923 Bitcoins stolen. But get this, 569 Bitcoins were recovered.
Wait, they got some of it back? How?
Thanks to a company called Strongcoin, they were a centralized wallet provider. The thief who stole the Bitcoins from Ozcoin, he was using a Strongcoin wallet. Strongcoin was able to freeze the funds and return them.
Wow. So it's possible to recover stolen Bitcoins?
In some cases, yeah. Especially if a centralized service is involved.
It's good to know that there are some good guys out there fighting the good fight.
Absolutely. May 10th, 2013. Back to the world of altcoins. For Curex, another exchange, loses 1,454 Bitcoins in a theft.
It seems like those early altcoin exchanges were really struggling with security.
Yeah, they were easy targets. They didn't have the same resources or the same level of security as the bigger Bitcoin exchanges.
Wild West was alive and well in the altcoin market.
You could say that. All right, this next one is a classic, the James Howells loss.
Oh, this is the guy who threw away a hard drive with a bunch of Bitcoins on it.
That's the one. July 2013, James Howells, computer engineer from Wales. He accidentally tossed a hard drive with 7,500 Bitcoins. Bitcoins he mined back in 2009.
I can't even imagine. That's got to be worth,
Whoa.
what, hundreds of millions of dollars today.
Easy. He knows which landfill it's in, but despite trying to dig it up, the hard drive's never been found.
Oh, man. That's rough. A reminder that even in the digital world, physical stuff matters.
Big time. Next up, Just Dice, Bitcoin gambling platform. This one's a bit of a head-scratcher.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happened?
A user, Celeste, managed to withdraw 1,300 Bitcoins. There was an accounting error on the site.
So not a hack, just a glitch.
Yep. But instead of, reporting it or giving the money back, Celeste starts gambling with it and loses it all.
Wait, so they basically stole it and then gave it right back.
Pretty much. Just Dice ended up reversing all the bets to protect the other players.
What a wild story.
It is. Okay, October 2013. This one's a game changer. The FBI shuts down Silk Road.
Silk Road, the darknet marketplace. That was huge news.
It was. They seized a whopping 171,955 Bitcoins from user accounts and from Ross Ulbricht, the guy who allegedly created Silk Road.
So they caught the mastermind behind it all.
They did. Ulbricht was convicted on a bunch of charges, money laundering, drug trafficking, the whole 9 yards. He's serving a life sentence.
Wow. That really sent a message.
It did. Showed that the authorities were serious about cracking down on cybercrime.
And that even the darknet wasn't beyond their reach.
Right. Okay, next up, another scam. This time it's GBL. They claim to be an exchange based in Hong Kong.
What was their play?
The usual. High returns, blah, blah, blah. Operated for a few months and poof, gone, along with about 22,000 Bitcoins.
So many exit scams back then.
It was a constant risk.
It really highlights how important it is to, do your research, not just jump at the first shiny offer you see.
Couldn't agree more. October 2013, Inputs.io. This was a platform that was all about security. They got hacked, lost 4,100 Bitcoins.
A security-focused platform getting hacked. Talk of irony.
Right. It just goes to show nobody is completely immune. Even with all the fancy security measures, there's always a way in.
So you always got to be vigilant.
Always. Then, same month, Basic Mining, publicly traded mining operation, they disappeared, along with around 2,131 Bitcoins.
Just like that.
Pretty much. Founder vanished when the exchange they were listed on shut down. Investors were left high and dry.
Another case of lack of transparency coming back to bite everyone.
Yep. November 11, 2013, Bitcash.cz check exchange, hacked, lost 484 Bitcoins.
That doesn't sound like that much compared to some of the others we talked about.
True. But it happened right when the price of Bitcoin was spiking, so the actual value lost was way higher.
So timing is everything.
It can be. All right, November 17, 2013, BIPS, they were a Bitcoin payment processor, got hacked for 12,295 Bitcoins. But here's the kicker. They refused to reimburse most of their users.
What? Seriously? Why?
They claimed web wallets were just too risky, said it was the user's responsibility.
That seems pretty harsh.
Yeah, a lot of people felt that way. It really showed how little consumer protection there was in those days. No rules, no precedents.
A lot of people must have been left feeling pretty helpless.
I'm sure they were. But there were some exchanges that stepped up. November 29, 2013, Pico stocks, they get hacked, lose 5,896 bitcoins. Huge amount.
Did they do the same thing as BIPS?
Nope. They covered the losses, all of it, out of their own pocket.
Wow. Good for them.
Yeah.
It's good to know that not everyone was out to exploit the system.
Absolutely. Okay, last one for 2013, Sheep Marketplace, another darknet market. They supposedly had about 5,400 bitcoins stolen by a user, but some people think it was the administrators themselves who pulled an exit scam.
The plot thickens. Those darknet markets were always shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, you never knew who to trust. And that brings us to 2014, the year it all came crashing down.
2014, the year Mt. Gox finally met its demise.
February 2014, Mt. Gox, the biggest Bitcoin exchange in the world, implodes. Around 850,000 Bitcoins vanish, largest loss in Bitcoin history at the time.
It was like the whole Bitcoin world held its breath.
Mm.
What happened? How could something that big just disappear?
It was a perfect storm of bad decisions. Terrible security practices, mismanagement, maybe even some outright theft. The full story is still unfolding.
It's crazy how something that seems so solid could just crumble.
It was a wake-up call for the entire industry.
So what happened after the dust settled?
Things changed. The Mt. Gox collapse, it forced everyone to take a hard look at security, transparency, the whole 9 yards. Regulators started paying attention.
A painful lesson, but maybe a necessary one.
Maybe so. But the fallout from Mt. Gox didn't end there. In March 2014, Flexcoin, a service calling itself a Bitcoin bank, lost 896 Bitcoins, got hacked and shut down. They didn't reimburse anyone.
Another exchange bites the dust.
Yeah. Then there was CryptoRush, another exchange. They lost 950 Bitcoins and a bunch of altcoins. It just showed how vulnerable those smaller platforms were and how much some of them were hiding from their users.
So even after Mt. Gox, there was still a lot of cleaning up to do.
A lot. And our last stop on this wild ride takes us to October 2014, the MintPal incident. MintPal was a big altcoin exchange, got taken over by a new management team, and shortly after, 3,894 Bitcoins disappeared from their cold wallet.
Oof. So even with all the changes, all the lessons learned, it still wasn't enough.
Not quite.
Yeah.
It was a reminder that the world of Bitcoin, it's still risky. You always got to be careful.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. From those early days when Bitcoin was just a glimmer in someone's eye to the Mt. Gox collapse and beyond.
It's been quite a journey.
What are some of the big takeaways? What have we learned from all these Bitcoin mishaps?
Well, I think it's clear that the early years of Bitcoin were wild, a time of incredible innovation, but also incredible risk. We saw how technical mistakes, scams, security breaches, they all led to massive losses.
And how those losses shaped the Bitcoin world we know today. The regulations, the security measures, everything.
Exactly. The landscape has changed a lot, but the lessons are still relevant. Security, transparency, due diligence, they matter now more than ever.
Couldn't agree more. So as we step out of our Bitcoin time machine and head back to the present, what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's thinking about dipping their toes into the world of crypto?
Do your homework. Understand the risks. And never forget, if you don't control your private keys, you don't control your coins.
Wise words. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder all the twists and turns of Bitcoin's wild ride. Until next time, folks, keep exploring, keep learning, and stay safe out there in the ever-evolving world of crypto.